Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Andrew Nierenhausen. I do a lot of the statistics collection for the region, some of which you're going to be using to fill out this annual report here. I am also joined by Stephanie Thero, who's the manager of technology services, and she's handled the annual report in the past and done these webinars in previous years. So she'll be here monitoring the chat and helping to answer any kind of questions that come up as we go through today. So the webinar is being recorded. It's going to be posted to YouTube for reference if you're filling out your report later on and want to refer back to it. So the purpose of today is to give a general overview of the annual report and the resources that YRL has for you to help you fill out the four key sections of that annual report. And then who to contact for guidance if you run into anything where you have some questions. So we can start there. If you have any questions about the annual report that come up, especially after this session, you can send those directly to AskYRL at yrl.ab.ca. And again, feel free to ask questions in the chat as we go along, and we can start to answer those. Okay. So the annual report is a report. It's collected by PLSB every year to get a sense of province-wide library activity during the calendar year. With the data that they collect, they create the public library statistics document for Alberta. You can view those statistics on their website, and I'll actually show you where to find them a bit later on. They currently go up to 2021, so they're always just a few years behind, I think. It's a really useful tool if you ever want to do comparison to other libraries in the province or in the region. It's just all the information they collect from the annual report, but kind of organized together. So the annual report is also a really great way to share your successes with PLSB. You want to tell your story, demonstrate the value of libraries, and you can do a little bit of advocacy for your library. And also, PLSB can use this information to do that advocacy on your behalf as well. And importantly, completing the annual report is also a requirement to receive your operating grant funding. Okay, so that's obviously a very important component of the report. And the deadline for the report is February 28th. I believe it's February 28th every year. So getting started with doing your annual report, you're going to want to gather up all the information that you'll need. And you can find the list of resources on the YRL intranet. We will taking a look at that in a little bit as well. If you don't have it bookmarked, that URL is on the screen there. You can actually search it up from the YRL website. If you search the website for the intranet, you can get to it that way. And once you're on the intranet, it's under the Reports and Statistics tab, and then the Annual Reports section. So on that page, you're going to have links to the PLSB website with all of the annual report information that they provide, links to all the statistics that YRL has compiled for your library so that you can fill out the report. The other thing that you're going to require is a LibPass login. So that's going to be your username and password for LibPass, and LibPass is just the survey that PLSB uses to collect the annual report. Yellowhead can't provide you with the login information. So if you're new to the library and you don't have an account or you've forgotten your login information, you'll have to contact PLSB directly for that. On the PLSB annual report page, they actually have contact information for PLSB staff who can provide you with that information. So when we go take a look at the PLSB site later, I'll show you where you can see that contact information. So this is what the annual report page looks like on the intranet. So this is our annual report resource. Um, this image shows 2023, but if you visit the intranet page, it's already been updated this year with all of the 2024 information and links. At the top there, you can see the links to the PLSB website. There is mention of a reference key. The reference key is kind of an optional document. It kind of helps to clarify some of the things in the annual report, but when you go through the annual report itself, there's descriptions in all of the headings that help to explain things. So you don't necessarily need to use that reference key. Below that, we have the annual report statistics provided by YRL. So the first one there is instructions on printing your annual report from Polaris. And this can be done at any time from the Polaris reports section. So the instructions are there, but we'll run it at the end as well just to show you how. There are also links to the wireless statistics. So that's going to be Wi-Fi sessions for your library. There's also your website statistics, so for your website visits. We'll touch on that as well. And then a note about e-content. And we'll come back to this as well, but YRL reports on e-content for the region, so it's not something that you have to include in your annual report. So we will go through each of these in a bit more depth as we go along. So when you log into LibPass, you'll see the annual report tab, and within it are a number of different sections. All of the previously recorded information for your library is going to be there. So some of these sections aren't going to need to be updated at all. You might need to do a bit of tweaking depending on the changes that took place over the year, but for something like directory, that's probably going to be your contact information. So if your address and your contact haven't changed, then you won't need to update that information. The areas that YRL helps and it helps you the most with are the ones on the screen bolded in purple right now. So that would be collections, circulation, library access, and Wi-Fi sessions. So those are the areas that we're going to focus on today. We'll take a look at how we do each one of those. But do reach out to us if you have questions that fall into the other categories here. We can help answer those or help you figure out how to answer those as they come up. Okay, so now we'll actually take a look at some of the stuff from the annual report. So the left side of the screen here it's a screen capture from LibPass, and on the right is the annual report from Polaris. The categories between the two are directly aligned, so this is nice. It takes out any of the guesswork. They use the same language, whereas in the past they didn't always line up directly. So this is great. So we see print items here. So this is based on material types: book, large print, paperback, and magazine. I think there we go. We can highlight that. Non-print items. Okay, so that's going to be everything other than book, large print, paperback, and magazine. And then print withdrawn and non-print withdrawn. Total print items. So this is anything that didn't end up with a status of missing, lost, withdrawn, or claimed. And then our total non-print. So same thing, but for non-print material. Because of the nature of how electronic equipment is cataloged by different libraries in TRAC, and so that's stuff like Wi-Fi hubs, laptops, mobile devices. It's not possible to get those figures into the annual report. So that's the one that we run out of Polaris. We're working on this, trying to find a better way to report on this. But for now, if you have a small amount of these devices and you want to enter them manually, or if you have some that aren't cataloged in Polaris, you can count them up and add them manually down at the bottom there. We also have instructions on the intranet again for how to pull that information, especially if you do have it cataloged in Polaris, then you can use those instructions to pull those numbers. And you can always reach out to AskYRL if you have any questions about that. Okay, so that's them down at the bottom. Collections, so e-content. Again, this section is pretty easy. You can just leave it blank. Because of the nature of e-resources and they get licensed at the regional level, YRL is going to report these numbers on your behalf. Because we also fill out our own annual report with all of this information every year, all of the regions do. So you can leave it blank. You can also check the not applicable boxes next to those fields. Either of those work. If your library makes contributions to e-resources, for example, some libraries do, some libraries don't. So if your library gave, $5,000 to YRL for additional e-resource purchases, you can enter that in the library board contribution section at the bottom. And if not, you can just hit the not applicable box. So let's see if that highlights here. Yes, down at the bottom there. So the circulation also aligns with the information on the annual report. So what is this counting? So it is counting checkouts only. So no renewals of print material. So checkouts of print material, no renewals, and is based on the material types book, large print, paperback, and magazine. And then non-print being everything else. And this is checkouts at your library between January 1st, December 31st, 2024 in this case. Then there's total electronic equipment there. Again, we have instructions on the intranet for pulling those totals. For interlibrary loan, it is calculating circulation of items that you borrowed or brought in from TRAC and Alberta. And then your ILLs lent as well. So that's going to be what you sent to other libraries within Alberta. They are also asking for ILL circulations outside of Alberta. This one's a bit trickier to capture, and the Polaris report might not capture every circ done this way. Again, we're working on a better way to get this data for you, but for now, feel free to use the data that comes from the report. If you do happen to keep track of this, if you do a few more of these from time to time, and you keep the slips or something like that, you can add that manually. But keep in mind, circulation outside of Alberta is often very low. There probably isn't going to be a big discrepancy anyway. We only get a handful of these that come through, the region each year. So the numbers in the annual report from Polaris are probably going to be great. And then we can also mention notes. So actually, if I pop ahead here, so next to each of these fields, there's a little notepad icon with a pen there. So you can click on any of these and you can add a little bit of additional context and information for PLSB. So here, for example, if you feel like you did more out of province ILL than what is reported, you can say that. You could say, hey, I'm not sure if this totally reflects what we did. I think we did a little bit more. Just gives a little bit of context for any of the information. And this is what it's going to look like. You'll get a little note box pop up, and you can fill out that text box yourself. Okay, continuing on with circulation. So in-house circulation or in-library use. So there's two different ways that you can report this information. As you can see from the description there, if you do collect your in-house circulation in Polaris, that will be part of your annual report. If you don't, or are unsure if you do or not, you can count up the number of in-house items used over 1 week, and then you multiply that number by 50, and that gives you an estimate. And PLSP is perfectly happy with that method. If you're not sure whether or not you do in-house circulation or not, this is what the in-house check-in looks like. So it's just your regular check-in screen, but you can see on the left-hand side, it's the third tab down, and this is your in-house mode. So if you want to start using this method to count for this year, this is where you would find it. And you can check in any of the materials you find left out on the tables or pulled from shelves. And then those numbers are going to be collected for you, and they will be in the annual report for next year. There you go. There's a nice handy arrow pointing at it. Okay, so card holders. This is an interesting one, and it's a bit more complicated than some of the other fields. So despite the name, active patrons is it's not based on the number of people that have memberships at your library. It's about activity. So it's defined as checking out materials, physical materials, or e-resources through the pack. So specifically, Overdrive or Cloud Library through TrackPack. For some other transactions, like if you're only using Libby or Hoopla, those are not going to be counted. Okay. So to try and explain it, active is reporting patrons who transacted during the year, even if their cards later expired. So that's physical checkouts or e-resources through TrackPack. Inactive patrons are those who may have expired during the year but didn't have any activity, no checkouts. And expired patrons are those that have been expired for the whole year. So going into January 2024, they were expired, they stayed expired, and they had no activity. So it's a little bit different. And if you're running numbers to bring to your boards and things, they might look a little bit different than this, depending on how you're counting active patrons, right? It might not be how many people have accounts. This is specifically about activity. Okay, so this section, visits, asks about visits to your library. So you would collect your in-person visits, but we do collect visits to your library website. And you can find those from the link on the annual report intranet page. So the data in these tables, this is what it looks like when you go to that link. The data in these tables is pulled from Google Analytics. We use Google's GA4 analytics service, which captures the traffic to your website. The numbers you are looking for are the sessions. So these are going to be all of the numbers in the column on the right-hand side. So you can just total those up, all of the sessions, and that total is the number you're going to enter as your website visits. So when you're looking at the data for your library, you might notice that some of the months have a very high number of views. And I've had a lot of questions about this over the last year. These numbers are caused by bots or spam activity that's visiting your site. And it happens for a variety of reasons. Unfortunately, they are counted by Google as traffic to your site. So we won't get too technical here, but what you're looking for is the sessions in the right. That's going to be an accurate measure of people visiting your site. So if you look and you see that you're averaging 150 views a month, and then suddenly you get 23,000 views, that's why. Just so you're not shocked when you see something like that. Okay, public workstations and Wi-Fi. So you can find the information about your Wi-Fi sessions on the intranet. We track these on the monthly statistics page that has a bunch of e-resource and Wi-Fi and other numbers there. There's also a link directly on the annual reports page, so you can go right there. You don't have to go hunting for the monthly stats page. When you get to that page, you just select your library from the drop-down menu at the top of the screen, and I'll show you that later as well. And then you can look at your Wi-Fi sessions. So the number that you will be reporting is the total public Wi-Fi sessions. So here you can see that it's on the far right there at the top. The total would be 1,110. For the number of public workstation sessions, um, you should have a good sense of this activity, and hopefully you keep track of that throughout the year. But similar to the in-house check-ins, if you don't keep track of that, you can do the typical week estimate. So keep track of it for a week, multiply by 50, and that will give you your annual estimate. Next year, however, we will be able to provide public workstation usage with statistics from Deep Freeze for all the libraries that are using Deep Freeze. So this should be the last year that you have to estimate this number, and next year we should be able to give you an accurate count of that. So that's good stuff. So happily, there were no major changes for this report this year. But the PLSB does have a library trends question, they call it, that changes every year. So this year's question is, does your current plan of service focus on any service responses specifically for seniors? Um, and there's a few different options here. They're a little bit confusing. Keep in mind that the question is asking about your plan of service specifically. So the responses that they have listed are yes, no, we do not offer senior specific programming services. No, but we do offer senior specific programming services. Unsure, but are in the process of doing a new plan of service. Or unsure, I am not familiar with the plan of service. So there's a few options there that you can take a look at. And of course, you can answer honestly to this question and to this report. This is just information gathering across the province to get a sense of this particular issue. You might remember last year's question was about whether or not your library had a technology plan. So this is just PLSB looking at broader library trends, getting a sense of what's going on in the province. Okay, so in just a moment, I'm going to ask for any questions that you have or anything that came up in chat. But quickly before that, I'm going to show you how to actually run the annual report. And then we'll take a look at some of the other resources that I mentioned. I'll just give you a quick tour through those, and then we can come back here and answer some questions. Okay, so we'll start with the annual report in Polaris. So if you haven't run Polaris reports before, they live in this utilities section right here. So if you click on utilities, they're going to be under reports and notices here. Okay, and so this is going to be in the custom report folder because this is a custom report created for this specific purpose. So we click on that. We will scroll down, and it's the first of the actual reports here. You can see annual report updated January 2023. That's the last time that this report was changed. So we will open that up. And here you can select the year that you're looking for. So we are running this for 2024, and I'm just going to pick one of our libraries here. And we will submit and run it. And just like that, you get your annual report. And this is going to go through each of those sections that we talked about. So your collection and your circulation, all that information is going to be here. And you can put it right across into LibPass to answer the annual report. So that's where you find the annual report. And we'll close that. So we also mentioned the intranet. So on the YRL intranet, I'm on a laptop, so this kind of scrunches down the menu a bit here, but it should be along the header for you, or else you can find it in this little menu. There's the reports and statistics tab here, and then under that we have the annual report page. And so this is the annual report page. Um, Up here is the PLSB link to their website. And then here you can find the links to all the other resources that I mentioned today to help you fill that out. And you can also see the recordings for previous annual report webinars, just like this one. And so those will be updated with this new information. And then we'll go to look at the PLSB website. So this is, if you click on this link here, it'll bring you to the PLSB website, which is this here. And it's got information on a few different things for you. It explains that it's due on February 28th. So you still got more than a month, which is lots of time to get this done. You're linked to LibPass here. So this is where you're going to go to actually fill out the annual report. I mentioned earlier, if you don't know your login information, you'll have to contact PLSB, and this is the contact for the person who can help you with that. So if you want to write that down now, or you can come back here, that's who you'll contact. They should get back to you pretty quickly. There's a little bit more information about filling out the survey here, but mostly this is stuff that we've covered today. And then in the background here, I also mentioned earlier the public library statistics for the province of Alberta. And so you can see those here. And this is the results of previous year annual reports that are collected all together. And so you can go and take a look at that. And there's some really interesting stuff in there. Okay. So I'm going to bring it back to this questions page. And we'll see if we have any questions. Thank you, Stephanie, for posting that link. Yeah, any questions? Oh, there's a Q&A section there. Finding stats for ebooks and e-audiobooks. I will show you how to find those stats, but just remember that YRL reports those on your behalf, so they're not going to be required for the annual report. So actually, let's take a look here. You can find those on the intranet. Let's go to the reports and statistics page. And it's going to be under monthly usage statistics. So this is actually the current year, and then down here we have view previous year's resource statistics. So if we click on this, oh, this is the 2023 statistics. Oh, this must still be 2024. Okay. Yes. So it won't be until the end of the month that these change over. So here you can see your e-resource statistics. This is also, I mentioned, your total public Wi-Fi sessions. So you can see those are totaled here. And then there's a whole bunch of other e-resource and other information there. Okay. There was another question there. Let's see what that was. Deep Freeze will be tracking public sessions next year. So that will be for 2025, right? Because most of them are set up by the end of 2024. So they should be collecting them for 2025. Under circulation on the annual report. Did I answer your question, Rebecca, about finding the monthly e-resource statistics and whether or not you need to answer those for the report? Okay, sounds good. Okay, any other questions, concerns? Okay. Doesn't look like anything's coming in. So just a reminder, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to Ask YRL at yrl.ab.ca, and we can help you with anything that comes up. So thank you all for coming today, and good luck with your annual reports. And we'll talk to you soon.